Alright, so today we're going to focus a little bit more on the actual finding the slope of a line on a graph and on a table. So yesterday we kind of looked into what is slope, what is the formula for slope, what are the types of slopes. Today we're mainly going to focus on how to find a slope. So obviously some of this should be reviewed from yesterday because I hit on it yesterday at the end of the video. But we're just going to do a bunch of practice of like, how do I find the slope? So again, some pictures are giving you 2 points. So on these graphs, we're given 2 points. So I can take my pencil, obviously you guys are on a computer, but you can kind of like, draw it out on a paper or kind of like use your pencil or whatever to like mimic drawing the triangle. But again, we want to essentially draw a triangle on any of these 2 points. So from this point to this point, again, most of the time we want to draw the triangle on the bottom. We can draw it on the top if we want. We can draw it wherever we want. There we go. Drawing triangles, right? From there, remember, our formula is the change in y over the change in x. So remember, y always goes on top, x always goes on the bottom. I know that that's different than normally when we write a point, we always put x first and y second, but this is different than a point, right? Or, again, we can always think about it as, just like we wrote yesterday, rise over run. Okay, so we're going to look at our up and down first, our left and right second. So if I go over here to this dot, from, again, left to right, so I'm going from this dot first over to this dot, because this dot comes first left and then this one comes second. Am I going to go up to get to that next dot or down to get to that next dot? I'm going up, and that is only one box that I'm going up. So my rise is 1. Then my run, left and right. If I start at this dot, am I going to be going left to get to the next dot or right? I'm going right, and I'm going right 1, 2 dots. So that's my run, 1 over 2. That's my slope of this line. Okay, rise over run or y over x. Okay, so looking at all these, I can just go through and I can just write, okay, this is going to be these are 2 boxes, right? These are 2 boxes. This is 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 boxes. I can write the numbers. I can go through, this is 1 box. This is 2 boxes. So I know all my numbers so far. Now I just need to determine whether I'm going up or down, left and right, right? So if I go from this dot, again, left to right, this dot comes first, this dot comes second. So if I'm going from this dot to this dot, am I going up or down? Down, which means that this is going to be a -2. Am I going left or right? Right, which means that this is going to be a +2. So I'm going to put my rise, which is the up and down, over my run, which is the left and right. Now remember, anytime I have a fraction, if I can reduce that fraction, I'm going to reduce it. They're both 2's, which means they can both be divided by 2, which would be a -1 over a +1. We can also, if we have a whole number, we can write it as a whole number. So -2 divided by 2 would be a -1. You can write this as a whole number, or you can leave it as the most reduced fraction. Both of these answers will be accepted on your assignment today. However, if it is a fraction, leave it as a fraction. Do not write decimals. I do not want a single decimal. Whenever we talk about slope, we have to have a fraction. It is rise over run. A decimal 0.5 right here would make no sense. 0.5 doesn't tell me that I'm going to go up 1 and over 2. Okay? 0.5 tells me nothing. Okay, when I'm given a slope like 1 over 2, that tells me what I'm going to do for my next point. That tells me that if I have a point right here, I'm going to go up 1 and over 2 to get to my next point. So if I were to give you a slope of 2/3 and ask you to graph a line that has that slope, you can pick any point you want to start with. So let's say you want to start here. If I want a slope of 2/3, that means I'm going to count rise up 2 and over 1, 2, 3 and put my second point, and this will be my line. If I have a slope of negative 1/3, this tells me I'm going to go down 1 and over 3. So if I start my point right here, I'm going to go down 1 and over 1, 2, 3 to get my second point, and that would be my line. Okay, so just so you know, that's how we can graph a slope, and then these are how we find slopes. So again, let's continue these two right here. So again, from this point to this point, I'm going to go up 1, so a positive 1, and to the right 2. So my slope here would be 1/2. Over here, from this point to this point, I'm going down to get to the next point. So I'm going down 5, so a negative 5, over, and then a positive 4. Because again, I'm going down 5 and to the right 4. Or I'm going up 5 and to the left 4. So either way, it can either be that or it can be a positive 5 and a negative 4. Either one of these slopes, depending on where you drew your triangle, would be correct. Again, the numbers are the same. The negative sign's just on a different spot. So again, these are what you're going to do if you're going to find a slope without points. Keep in mind, if you have points, if you have lines that do not have points, so let's say something like this down here, right? If I do not have a point, keep in mind I can draw a point. I'm just going to look for where does these lines intersect. So like right here, it's just kind of off the mark, but like right here, it intersects right in this spot. So I can draw a point right there. And then, okay, this is kind of in the middle. This is right on 2 points. So now I can take those 2 points and I can draw my triangle. 1, 2, 3. So I'm going down 3 and I'm going over 2. So my slope here would be a negative 3 over 2. Okay, so that's if you don't have points. I believe most of the ones on the assignment today do have points, but I just wanted to clarify that. And then the last thing I want to go over with the lines is, again, keep in mind if we have lines that look like these two. We know that a vertical and a horizontal line are different types of slopes. So again, from this point to this point, do I rise any? Well, I don't go up, I don't go down, so my rise is 0. I can't really draw a triangle from this point to this point, but I do go over 1. So when I have something like this, again, I don't want to leave it like this. I want to actually, 0 divided by 1 is 0. So my answer here would be 0. If you wrote 0 over 1, I would totally accept that, but it's really just 0. For this one, if I try to draw, my triangle, I can't. It goes up 2 or down 2, whichever way you want to look at it. And then it does not go left and right. So it goes left and right 0. Again, this technically is correct. However, 2 divided by 0 in my calculator again says error, which means that this is undefined. So we would actually want you to write undefined here as your slope, not an actual number. This is the only time where instead of having a fraction, you will have a word, undefined. Here, my answer is 0. Here, my answer is like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 over 1. So here, my answer is 4 over 1. Here, my answer is negative 4 over 2 or something like that, or 5 over 2. Here my answer is undefined. Okay? Alright, the last thing I want to do in this video is show you tables. So again, not only are you going to be answering them based off of graphs, you're going to be answering them based off of tables. So again, remember, the table is the same thing. It's the change in y over the change in x. So again, here we're going to look at our y's first. So we always have x comes first, y comes second in a table, x and y. So we're going to look at our y's. How is this changing? Well, if I go from 8 to 0, that means I subtracted 8. If I go from 0 to -8, that means I subtracted 8. So my change in y here is a -8. And then again from here to here. If I'm going from -2 to 0, that means I'm adding 2. If I go from a positive or a 0 to a +2, that means I'm adding 2. And again, you don't have to check every single one of them. You can just check 1 or 2 to make sure that they're the same number. So I have a -8 over 2. Again, remember, I have to reduce my fraction. So I can divide both of these by 2 and get a -4 over 1. So this would be my slope for this table. Again, I can do the same thing here. From 1 to 2 is 1. From 2 to 4 is 2. So I'm noticing there's a difference here. Okay, so from 4 to 1 is 1 again. Okay, so what I can do here is, because the numbers change, I'm just going to use the one that goes with this one. So from here to here, it was a 1. So what is it from here to here? The change is a 2. So my change is a 2. If I were to look at this one, right, my change was a 2. Well, then I would want to find my change here, which is a 4. And again, notice I always want reduced fractions. So I would have to reduce this one back down to 1/2. So sometimes you do have different numbers, but the fraction itself will still equal the same amount. Whether I change from 1 to 2 or from 2 to 4, 1 over 2 and 2 over 4 both reduce to 1/2. Okay, let's look at a couple more right down here at the bottom. So again, I want to look at my y's first. So from here to here, what happens? Well, looks like we subtract 40. So that's my change in y over my change in x. Well, from -10 to -2, it looks like that's adding 8. Now, it looks weird because they're both negatives, so maybe you want to do from here to here. And then it looks like from here to here, it changes by 10. Okay, so this top one was an 8, so I'm going to put an 8 here. From here to here, what does it change by? Well, from -20 to -70 is a -50 over 10. So again, you're saying, okay, well, these are two different fractions. Now remember, we're going to reduce these, right? These can both be divided by 8. 40 divided by 8 is a 5 or -5. And 8 divided by 8 is 1. -50 and 10 can both be divided by 10, which is a -5, and a 1. So again, it doesn't matter which change you use. If I look from here to here or here to here, as long as I reduce that fraction, I will get the same answer. So again, if I type this in my blank, it's not going to say, oh, this answer's right, because I need to reduce it to have the same fraction. Okay, same thing over here, from here to here. 14 to 35 looks like that we are adding 21. And again, I can do that same thing again, but I'm just going to do it once. From here to here, it looks like we are adding 3. So I'm going to have 21 over 3, which again I can reduce down to 7 over 1. Again, if you're thinking, how am I reducing? What is she doing to reduce? I'm seeing what can go into both of these. Well, the only thing I can divide 3 by is 3. So 3 divided by 3 is 1, which means I'm going to do 21 divided by 3 and get 7. Okay? All right, you are going to use this on your assignment today. You're going to practice using both tables and lines to solve for a slope. And then you have a couple practice problems where they give you some points where you can move around to find slope.